In this acrylic pouring step-by-step tutorial, we are going to look at cloud mixes and see how they measure up against each other. We're taking some of our favorite products and we are going to mix them up and see the results that we get to help you take your art to the next level. All right, so we're gonna mix our colors up today, and my pouring medium is Flood Floetrol. I'm using that in all of my colors, and the ratio is approximately 2 to 1. I do not measure. I go by feel. So we're gonna take our top off, and I'm gonna mix up one of the colors in its entirety from beginning to end so that you can see it, and then we'll mix the other colors off camera. All right, so we need about a 2 to 1 ratio. So I'm gonna fill my cup up just a little more. Okay, so you can see. And I'm gonna take my Bordeaux red by Arteza. Okay. And to make my paint stretch a little bit more, I'm gonna take some more student grade acrylic paints. It's just much cheaper. It allows me to make my paints go a little further. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the Blickrylic. Okay. And I'm just gonna do a little dot. And we're gonna stir. So it's 2 parts by volume, and you can see the Bordeaux red is extremely pigmented, so adding the red really doesn't change the color much, but we get a very nice thick consistency. Leaves a mound on a mound, disappears in about 2 seconds. So we're gonna mix all of our paints like this. All right, so we have all of our colors mixed here, and you can see that the consistencies are very much the same. Very. All right, so this first recipe is very common, and I want to try this out. So if you have been pouring for a while, you may know some of the very first artists that we saw on YouTube. You had your Anne Marie, your Melly D's, your Mixed Media Girls, and so Millie D introduced us kind of to this a cloud effect, or at least introduced me, and she swore by just the satin enamel product. She also mixed it with the artist's body, the artist's Loft soft body, and we know that this has undergone a lot of changes over the years, but she also only mixes it with, you guessed it, water. So we are going to mix our first recipe, and it is a 1-to-1 ratio. Once again, this is by volume. So we're going to take some of our soft body. Going to fill it up. So we got about 1 ounce. We're going to do 1 ounce of soft body to 1 ounce of satin enamels. Okay. just a little more. And then we're going to thin it with water. So this is just the two paints mixed together, and it's relatively similar to our consistency already. So it won't take a bunch of water. So we're just going to add it squirt by squirt. And I always like for my cloud mix to be a little bit thinner than my paints, but I think this is going to do it. I know it's so hard to see, but it is leaving a mound on a mound. Took a couple squirts of water. All right, so we're going to set this to the side, and we'll label it as we go so that you remember. But this is going to correlate with our gold color. Our next mix, I'm going to do it rather quickly. We're doing nothing but Satin Enamels and a little bit of American Floetrol. All right, so 1 to 1. Okay. To our American Flow. You can see the mix, the line there, and we're going to mix. All right, here we go. Once again, it leaves a mound on a mound. Nice. It has a lot of body to it. Can't wait to see how this comes out. Okay. That's going to correspond with our Bordeaux red. Next, we have our Vallejo Pearl Medium, and my friend at Willie B Studios, also known as Tiffany, she has really made this product popular. So this is a Pearl Medium, and we're going to do 1 part Vallejo Pearl mix to our Arteza Loft Soft Body. This isn't her recipe, but I'm kind of just made my own that I wanted to try. So about a 1 to 1 ratio. Okay. There we go. It's sinking in, so it's hard to tell, but that's about 1 to 1. All right, so we're going to mix this up first. And it is thick. It's real thick. So we're going to add our Floetrol. All right, these recipes are very easy to mix. I didn't want to try anything that involved too much because I think we're going to get some nice results. So everything is a 1 to 1 to 1. 1 part of the Vallejo Pearl mix to 1 part of the Arteza Loft Soft Body, and we're going to give it a mix. And I think it's still going to be too thick, so we're going to end up going to a 2 to 1. Yep, so that 1 part is not quite enough. I want it to be a little thinner. So we ended up with 2 parts American Floetrol. Perfect. Now it matches our other consistency, which is a little bit thinner than our paints. That's going to correspond with our red. And lastly, we are going to use just our trusted titanium white by Amsterdam. This is a crowd favorite for everything under the sun for many techniques. It's affordable, great quality, and we use it all the time. So let's just see what happens when we use Amsterdam. Okay, we're going to mix this a 2-to-1, 2 parts Floetrol to 1 part paint. Okay. And two parts Floetrol. We're gonna stir the baby up. This reminds me of the very first mixture that we did, which is the Satin Enamels and Arteza Loft White. As far as the flow, it still gives you amount on amount, but it's not. It doesn't have as much body as that one, our second mixture. All right, so we are ready to pour. All right, so we've left everything together. And let's set up our arena, if you will. All right, so I'm laying out my cups, and we're going to layer each cup the exact same way, but we're going to use a different cloud mix in each pour, okay? And I'm going to write each mix on the cup. So we're going to add a layer of white in between our two red and Bordeaux red. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so after a lot of pouring, I had just enough paint. Every cup is filled to that second line. So I'm gonna have to mix up a little extra paint so that we can have some flow extender. Not sure we're gonna need it, but want to have it just in case. All right, so we are starting off with our first cup. This is our Arteza Loft Flow and Satin Enamels. And I think we're getting a little bit of a reaction, but we're gonna see in just a second.
Here we go.
Really pretty. So we're gonna tilt this. Wow, I'm gonna have to use this color combo for a video. Looks really good. I used my leftover paint, what was left of it, which was not much. And then I made some additional paint. Might be a touch thick. I used the same recipe, but it's been sitting a while. So I'm just adding a few squirts of water. But since I'm using this for all of my paintings, it should not affect our experiment any. Perfect. Okay. Look at those clouds. Those are the clouds that I like to see. So now I'm just playing with composition. What a way to kick off. Woo! Baby, baby. I'm intrigued to see what will happen over time if my white continues to develop. But on to number 2. This is our satin enamels only. Okay, so immediately I do see a few differences. We got white earlier on. The second layer of white kind of disappeared in this cup. But we're still getting a good reaction here. And you can see that the clouds are continuing to develop. So some of my paint has come off the canvas, but that's okay. We can still do what we need to do. So I'm gonna go this way. Bring this on back. So the white is there. So I'm thinking it sunk because it was heavier. So it's showing up. Okay, so here we go. Very similar reaction. Which is to be expected because it's got a lot of the same genetic makeup. But remember, this is made with water. Now, the clouds are more wispy. That also might be a little bit, we can attribute that to we stretched it a little further, but really not that much. But the white showed up in the red once we stretched it, whereas it was popping up here. And you can see that the reaction has continued. This is continuing to grow. We'll see if this continues to grow as well. Let's go to our third cup. Okay, so this white looks different. This is my Vallejo and Artist Loft white. Once again, we are getting a reaction. This time the white seems to be floating a little bit more. Maybe that's due to the Vallejo. So we're gonna turn it and we're just gonna play. As I'm moving, I'm seeing cells, clouds pop up. I can definitely see a difference in the Vallejo. It's different. It's a lighter more area. It is a lighter cloud. It's more wispy. And it's like it sits on top. So you can see it sitting on my gold. Definitely a different reaction. So glad that we're doing this experiment. So I'm gonna turn the orientation so it's similar. And we got one more. Okay, so off Jump Street, definitely different. I knew it was going to be different just because I've worked with titanium white for quite a while now. We're very well acquainted, but it's super heavy. The genetic makeup is going to be different. So with these other ones, they all had different elements of some type of pearl effect. This is just my straight white paint, but what I will tell you is, for some reason, I tend to get a lot of really pretty gradient changes when I use just titanium white. I've done that in several other videos. One reason why I wanted to show you all that today, but look at the definition here. And it looks like the white is still there, but I don't know, it just looks a little different from all the rest. I can't quite put my finger on it, but let's go ahead and tilt. Wow. Wow. Y'all, these are gorgeous. I want you to see this. Look at every ring, if you will. Like, every ring is so present. The titanium white gives a different reaction. And this happens to me all the time. So when you use a titanium white, after it sits for a while, you always get like 4 or 5 gorgeous cells to pop up in the white. And I love that. I bet 1 or 2 more will pop up before this painting is dry. But there's definitely something to be said that's different when just using the titanium white paint, because it doesn't mix like the other colors do. That's gorgeous. So here are all 4 of our pieces, and this is like a quadriptych. Is that what you would call it? This was an experiment, but you know, this might become a little set online. I'm just fanning it to see if I can pop some air bubbles and what happens when that, you know. And when I pop air bubbles here, white generally pops up. But here, I'm not getting any white to pop up. Here, it's also white as well. So there's definitely something to be said about using the titanium white exclusively. So this was our cup number 1, and this was the Artist Loft Flow and Satin Enamel 50-50 mix. And I must say that out of all 4, cup 1 and 4 are my favorites. because they offer the most versatility as far as the clouds and that really puffy look. And then here, the lack of clouds, but just the creations that you can make. So maybe pairing these two together, you might get something really, really cool. I'll let your imaginations wander. So my cup 3 had my Vallejo Pearl mix along with my Artist Loft Flow, and I do like this. The reaction was definitely different, and it's like the white mixture floats to the top, and maybe that's because of all of the mica powder that is going to be suspended in that Vallejo Pearl Medium, so it's floating to the top, and that really gives you the wispy clouds, the really big puffy ones. That's kind of the vibe that I'm getting even here as it continues to develop. The shape of the clouds aren't quite as constrained. And so that's going to come down to a personal preference. But I do like it, and I like how the white mixed in and gave that frosty look to our paints here. Now, this is cup 2, and this is Satin Enamels only. And I will say it reminds me of the Vallejo Pearl Medium. Once again, you're going to have your pieces suspended in the Satin Enamels. One thing I am seeing is I'm getting more pinholes with this mixture, and it's given that Vallejo look, but I think the clouds are a little more pronounced as opposed to the Vallejo. But also, look what appeared as we stretched. We really saw the white that was in that second layer to pop up, and that's really, really pretty. We saw that in the Vallejo as well. It just looks a little bit different, but we don't see that any in the titanium white. There we have it, folks. All dried, and they dried perfectly. These are gorgeous. This should be a triptych. If anybody wants these, you gotta let me know in the comments. This was an experiment, but wow. Which one is your favorite? So there's not a whole lot to say, but all of these cloud mixes work. So family, use what you have. Don't go buying everything. We can make a lot of our products work. I'm really thinking, and this is a serious, this is a labor of love. Do you guys want 4 more recipes? I'm going to make them up. I'm going to find some products. Do y'all want 4 more recipes? That means you would have 8 different recipes for cloud mixes. And like I said, they give a different effect. The Vallejo is different. Now, the consistency of your paint will change your outcome, but you can at least see, okay, I can't get my hands on the Vallejo. It's always sold out, but I know that I can use the Satin Enamels and Artist Loft. Or I'm just going to stick with my titanium white. I love that effect. So you have options, friends. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. Remember, treat your friends and family and even your enemies with love. We could all use more love. I will see you in another video very soon. Peace.